Okay, there it is. Oh look, there's us. So cool. Oh gosh, I'm gonna follow this guy. Cookie bus.
I'll try the latest. What a bit. Yeah, I think it's they both. Ah. No, there's something was going on. I'll see how it goes.
Hi guys. Just a fair warning, this is on Facebook Live. On YouTube Live.
Okay, okay.
You want to get in the camera? Become famous.
I'm not pushing that. I'm not pushing that.
Okay.
Hi guys! Do you want to take a seat? Or do you want to get coffee quick? It's fine, I can take a 5-second break. So I'm just getting a restless here. Thanks for joining us today. I'm going to take my mask off just so that you can hear me nicely, but I promise not to walk over and hug any of you. Cool. Also found that generally people don't like to be hugged so much, so it's fine. As I said, thanks for coming. I know it's a Saturday, and I know that you probably have a lot of other things you'd rather be doing, so I'm going to try and keep it short and reasonably to the point. However, I do sometimes go into lecturer mode a little bit. I am the head of web, and I also teach in concept art, graphics, and web design, so I do tend to get a bit lecturing. My name's Kerry. Welcome to throw something at me. Okay. Just to introduce you to some of the other people, we've got Lars here, who is the founder of our game course, if you happen to answer any questions, and he'll do a bit of a presentation as well later. Kate, in the corner there, is our head of graphic design. I seem to have lost, here is our head of concept art, Andrew, if you haven't met him yet. Cool. So yeah, feel free to wave and shout if you have any questions or any thoughts. So who are we other than these individuals? Obviously, we're the Academy of Digital Arts. And we've been around for quite a while, since 2006, so we're in our 15th year now. So we've been doing this a long time. I'm reasonably confident we know what we're doing by now. Shoot, come on, no laughing. Yeah, guys, work with me here, please. It's my Saturday too. We offer a range of courses, both full-time, both short courses, and a little bit of corporate training. And I'll tell you a bit more about that, but the nice thing is that we build all of these things together so that we're able to offer you guys the best courses in the full-time program possible. And part of what makes us able to do that is that all our lecturers are required to be in the industry. So they're still working, they're freelancing, they're consulting, they own their own companies, and they can see how the industry is changing, what clients need, what companies need, and they not only adapt their own businesses for that, but they bring that knowledge to us, which means that we can adapt the courses, what we teach, and how we teach. So yes, we're a boutique studio here, but that allows us to shift the curriculum quickly to meet those needs. So if you think of like a really big steam liner, it's really hard to change course. Whereas we're a little bit more like a steamboat, and we can zip around and make those things happen. And making your industry ready is one of the most important things for us. The courses are 1 year each, but we work hard and we make sure that you're doing practical work. Theory, conceptualization, all very important and very fundamental to becoming a designer, an illustrator, concept artist, a game developer. But at the same time, we want to make sure that you can start your job, sit down at your desk and do the work. You might have to find the coffee machine and make friends, but you know you can do the work. So one of the ways we bring this all together is that, as I said, we teach short courses, which are evening courses geared more towards people who want to advance their skills, update their skills, perhaps shift industry a little bit. We've also got our corporate training programs, which is where companies like Woolworths, Media24, Sunlight, they come to us and ask us to teach their people, either to upgrade their skills or to develop entire new programs for youngsters that they want to bring into the fold. And the nice thing about all these relationships, which includes our own in-house design studio called Loud Rabbits, is that, again, we're seeing what the industry wants, we're seeing what these companies want. And very often those companies will draw from our own student body because they know that they're getting the information they need to be able to do the work. And as I've said before, that's really important to us. One of the ways we help do this is a lot of networking opportunities, but also being involved in the creative industries as a whole. So this could be a case of programs or expos. Unfortunately, not so many expos and events in the last year, but it is getting better and they're figuring out how to make these virtual. So again, Comic Con this year or last year was all done virtually. So we're learning how to work with these elements. And the nice thing about our digital industries is that on the whole, we already know how to do that. When shit hit the fan, excuse my French, we knew how to handle it. We quickly transitioned to virtual courses, our students got the information, and you know what, we still had energy and vibe, and we still had a wonderful sort of academic experience. So yes, we like to have lots of activities going on campus. That includes things like First Thursdays or creative talks by industry people and getting the students involved. One of the nice things we will be able to offer now, because of all we've learned, is those students, kind of virtual people, if you want to do any of the full-time courses purely virtually, you are able to do that now. Being on campus is wonderful in terms of getting that energy, getting that vibe, but we also know that sometimes people are a bit geographically challenged and they might be further away and they can't get here. So no worries, you can still join us. You can still be part of the class and get a wonderful knowledge and experience. Ultimately for us, it all comes down to this. We teach creative, sure, that's the part highlighted in white, but we're also about mentoring, growing, encouraging the students. So we build these relationships with the students and run our classrooms very much like we're the creative directors and they are our team working with us, teaching you how to be a part of a team and how to interact with your colleagues, your superiors, your mentors. In fact, sometimes we'll get messages later at night, like, oh, I need help with this project. Like, oh, let me put my kids to bed. Give me a moment. Okay, how can I help you now? And because of those relationships, the alumni, they'll come back to us with questions and advice. They'll come back and give our own students advice. We'll hire them. We'll help with the teaching aspect of it. And it is a wonderful community in that regard. Boring stuff, this is for the parents, very important. Yes, we are accredited, which means the big boys like CAG and SACWA say we're big enough and ugly enough to teach you what we know. And we're very proud of that. It also means that you can take those credits into other courses or overseas if you would like to do so. And like any good academy, we promise you all these things, but we want to make sure we're delivering on them as well. So we check. We went and chatted to the alumni over several years, and we keep doing it every year to make sure that, yes, education is an investment, but at the same time, all the things I'm telling you about being able to do the work, about it being worth it, has proven true. Very often, our alumni will get jobs within the first 3 months of having graduated, which, believe me, is phenomenal. We don't find you the jobs. We get lots of inquiries. We will recommend them to you. We will put the word out there, but ultimately, it's going to come down to your drive and passion. I can teach you how to do the work. I cannot teach you how to have that drive and that passion to take you through things like deadlines and the slightly boring parts of the job, which, believe me, always come. So one of the things you need to think about when you're thinking of that job, what do you want to do? What does your day look like? What is your ultimate vision of how you would like to have your career evolve? Is thinking about how the digital arts are everywhere. Whether it's apps on your cell phone, whether it's a design on your t-shirt, it could be websites, it could be the apps themselves, it could be an interactive experience at one of these events we've talked about. It could be a simple thing of how your accounting program looks and operates and moves from one page to another. There are so many ways that the digital arts impact us everywhere. You cannot do without them. And again, when we were all stuck at home, it was the movies, it was the games, it was the music. Those were the things that were keeping us going. Also consider things like jobs then versus jobs now. 10 years ago, if you'd gone to your mom and said, you know what, I want to be a social media manager, she would be like, what? You want to work on Facebook all day? Whereas now, that is a very real job. In fact, the entire advertising and marketing industry is changing at a rapid pace all the time. Companies like Mattel, which make Barbie dolls, they now bring out a 3D printing machine so that you can print your own toys, or if it breaks, print a part or a new one. You don't have to go and buy the individual toys anymore because they can see how things are changing. And Lars can wax lyrical about how the game industry is changing, the technology and the way we do things, even if it's something like shipping. These days, if your car part breaks, you need something, we don't have to ship it from overseas. We can print it right here in the material it needs to be printed in. These are wonderful advances, and these are the things you need to think about as you're planning where you want to go. one of the best things about being creative, however, and I'm sure you guys already know this, is that generally you're pretty adaptive. So you figure stuff out and you make it work, and you can apply those skills to multiple different industries. This is what makes our jobs pretty exciting, because we get to curate our days. Something like interactive media, this is considered one of the third biggest future growth markets, after something like robotics and biotechnology. In fact, the government a few weeks back listed essential skills that our country needs, and things like web design and development and multimedia developers were on that list. Our country has a shortage of those people. We need more of those people. Game. Unfortunately, people get told a lot when they're young. Games are not a career. You can't make games for a living. I'm here to tell you, Lars is here to tell you, that the game industry makes more than the movie and music industry combined. So think about that for a second. It's not just console games, it's TV games, it's web games, it's cell phone games, it's educational games. The gaming industry is huge and diverse, and there's so many different parts that you can get involved. Sorry guys, I'm getting a bit overly enthusiastic here. Woo! Hope you're feeling it though. Right? Who's feeling it? Come on, work with me. Thank you. Okay. Okay, so how do we get you involved in this industry that I'm clearly very passionate about? Remember, our teachers teach because they love it. Okay, we have jobs, we love teaching, we love mentoring. And what we teach is graphic design, web design and development, game and interactive media, and then of course concept art. Now each of these is a one-year course, and each of these will give you a higher certificate. You can't add them together to create a diploma, however, you can add them together to create your own package so that you get a diverse set of skills. You'll get individual higher certificates, but at the same time you're going to get those skills in the portfolio to demonstrate that you can do those jobs and that you know how to go about it. So this is something you do want to think about, much like I said, planning for future jobs. Think about how the different packages interact. For example, graphics and web go extremely well together because then that allows you to become a digital designer. And I'm trained as a graphic designer and illustrator, but adding web design and development to my repertoire was one of the best things I ever did for my career. And most digital designers will tell you the same thing. You may specialize in one, but being able to communicate with the rest of the team or the other side of the coin is an essential skill. In the same way, game and concept art go together really well. And game and web, because more and more there's an overlap between those two skill sets. And as you know, web games are also quite prevalent these days. So let's look at the first one, graphic design. This course makes an extremely well-rounded foundation, not just in its own right for a career that stands alone, but also for all the other courses. You've heard the expression of print is dead. Okay, fair enough. We consume a lot more digital media these days, and we don't maybe buy magazines or newspapers so much anymore. However, the skills we teach you in graphic design about visual communication, the emotional responses to color, font choices, how to bring all those elements together in a balanced, well-rounded way, those skills carry through no matter what the platform is. And it'll carry through into web and concept art and game design in different ways. So yes, conceptualization, very important to us. And yes, we do teach the essentials of graphic design in terms of branding, creating a corporate identity, something like packaging design, magazine or publication design. This could also be something like annual reports. And the nice thing about being a student is we encourage you to find your own voice and express yourselves. So you may have some very strong opinions about hipsters, and that's okay too. Photoshop, obviously an essential skill as well, including the rest of the brand development, things like illustrations, venue design. As I said, you can't go anywhere in this world without hitting some sort of digital design aspect of it. We had a marketing manager a couple of years ago. When he saw what our graphic design students could do with Photoshop, he said, "You'd never believe anything on the internet again." I kind of felt like he should have figured that out a bit earlier, but the little dog melting always makes me laugh and swerve at the same time. From there we move on to the web design and development, so going a little bit more into the traditional digital platforms and a little bit more into bringing things alive in a lot of ways with movement and interaction. Conceptualization, still very, very important. So it's not a glorified verified business card. A website should be more than that. And there's a lot of planning involved, whether it's the programming logic, whether it's the wireframes. Ultimately, a website, much like any graphic design project, has a goal, something your client is trying to achieve, and how do you get there? Planning, execution, planning your user journeys, and of course, making it look beautiful, all very important, and something we spend a large chunk of time dedicated to. And then we expect you to carry those skills through into elements like your programming and your building side, so you cover your HTML, your CSS, JavaScript, WordPress with a little bit of PHP, so that's your content management systems. And then because, again, we're aiming to be digital designers, and often we find you need this in web design and development, is a little bit of video editing. You're not going to be a movie director, I'm sorry, but you will be able to edit videos, create a movie, a little bit of a marketing extent. So I know I'm talking fast, so that I'm going to run you even faster through this video, and it's going to give you a little bit of a cross-section of what some of the web students produce. So this would be a very first website the student produced, would be within the first 2-3 months. Responsive is obviously important as well, we'll cover all of that. Interaction, animations, user feedback. This is not how you test responsive, but it's a good way of quickly demonstrating it. And as I talked about the programming logic, having applied to various industries, having a little bit of fun, learning the skills. I think fart noises go with that one for anybody who's interested. Experiential websites. Cool. There we go. And of course, e-commerce. Sorry guys, our projector seems to be glitching out a bit today. And these websites would be fully functional, so you could actually purchase elements. So all of those websites are fully functional. And remember, this is a year course, so to be able to produce that kind of work within a year, as I said, work hard and we have a lot of fun doing it. And we expect high things of you, but hopefully you expect high things of us too. Not to worry if you do not yet know any coding, you're not required to know coding. We start you from scratch and we'll take you through all the basics. And to be honest, I find it quite therapeutic because it's like writing a language. Some days I get to do UI, I get to be a little bit more creative, and some days I get to go to my zone and I get to code a little bit and it's a whole different world. So there's nice diversity there too. And then, as I mentioned, combining the two makes a really good pair, bringing those sort of digital design aspects together. Which brings us to Gabe, and I'll hand over to Lars for a bit.
Thank you, Karen. Hello. Don't worry, you will have it back in a few minutes. So, game technology, the game course. Very often confused with people playing games all day. That is not the case. So as Karen mentioned earlier, the game industry, just talking about games that can be played for entertainment, is one of the largest industries out there right now. However, what's really important about what you learn here in the game course is that we teach you how to use all of these tools for all kinds of different purposes. What I'm talking about is understanding, first of all, what makes games fun. How do we design something that the target audience you're going after, or developing a game or an app for, actually enjoys it and finds its way through it by using it. Yeah? Like in web development, we have UI UX now. We have a very similar thing in game development. If you don't understand how the game is, what you're supposed to do in the game or in the app, you will totally uninstall it, no matter how good it is. So that is important. What comes into planning the design of a game? The production. We address that very early on, and we apply it during projects that you do in class as a team. We simulate pretty much a work environment so that you actually get some work experience in the course. We base all of this on our 4 main pillars, which are what we call game theory. Yeah, that involves understanding what makes games and interactive media work, and the planning of the projects, time management. Then we go into game graphics, how to design them, how they work, 2D and 3D. Game coding, programming so that the game does what it's supposed to do at a certain point in time. And then, of course, the game technology in general, game engines, augmented reality, virtual reality, and all of the things that we can do with this technology. They all come together, they all have to work together, as do the specialists in the team to make a game like that or an app like that happen. So, by close to the half of the course, you will be able to specialize in a specific field. And then you do a project by your own in the field that you enjoy most and that you want to work in it, and do your own research, hone your skills, and show how good you are in that specific field. This all aims towards you having the portfolio for your career to start with that shows people what you're good at, and also proves that you understand the other aspects which enable you to work with the guys in a team production. And make no mistakes, 98% of these projects are team-driven. They are very close to what a movie production is. There you have different specialists. You have a camera guy, you have actors, you have the scriptwriter, you have the guy that does the lighting, the director, and all the other guys, set builders. We have equivalents in every project that we do. So if the movie director does not understand the basics of what a camera and camera angles can do for the atmosphere in his scene, he will never be a good movie director. He needs to be able to speak the language of the cameraman, which then operates the camera accordingly. Pretty much the same happens in a game production. Now, game productions are not the only thing that we do. We have students now that work for banks, architects, archaeologists, in the medical field, and pretty much any other industry out there, because what is happening worldwide right now, called the Fourth Industrial Revolution, is that companies in all industries have realized that they need this technology because it's beneficial to them. Just as one example, a couple of students of ours created their own company, their own development team. They have just created an augmented reality app for Volkswagen in Germany. The Volkswagen app enables Volkswagen retailers here in South Africa to show clients the latest car without it actually being there. They can use the phone, they point it somewhere, the phone registers a point in free space and puts the digital equivalent of a photorealistic looking Volkswagen car in the actual size there. And now the client can walk around the car without it being actually there, hear the sound, open the doors, look inside, and switch through the colors. That app was quite costly for Volkswagen, but they save millions of dollars, or euros in that case, because they don't have to ship the cars here. And then on top of that, the environmental impact is far less. So we have a lot of this stuff going on, and all of that is based on game technology that we teach our students, and it can be used to create a game or something completely different. Okay, so just as a little so that you get a little impression, this is our 2019 team working on an actual game for a company. We do this as a live project, where towards October all of our students work on one game as a development team. This is an educational app that teaches people about the work of a freelance designer. So, and it's geared actually at the freelance design clients to enable them to communicate a little bit better with their freelance helpers in terms of how can I work with the freelancer a little bit more effectively, and what kind of annoys the freelance designers, like changing the entire design idea they had 3 days before deadline. So what you see here is the guys working on different aspects of this production. You can see them working on 3D graphics, animations, user interfaces. The coders do their thing. The projector does not. And now,
Well, guys, happily, all the videos are
yeah,
available on
all the
YouTube.
videos are available. Yeah, but you get the idea. So this is pretty much what the game course looks like when you participate. And the guys are having a lot of fun, and they start actually quite successful careers. Not all of them, of course. Some of them, yeah, maybe pick the wrong course or the wrong profession altogether. But the essential outcome of this, of studying this, is that you really start into a career having a great portfolio if you put the effort in, and then are able to work with those teams and being employed pretty much from the get-go. And for you gamers out there, there's one other huge benefit. From now on, when you sign up for the course, and your parents complain that you play too many computer games, you can now officially call it research. Okay, thank you so much.
One of the nicest things I normally like about this video is seeing these happy students. Because the game students, as I said, have so often been told that gaming is not a career, and they come for their interviews and they're very quiet and they're very, very reserved, and we have to kind of bring them out of their shells, and then they start classes and they find their people, and suddenly they're running up and down the halls and we can't shut them up. And it's largely the same with the concept artists too, except they have slightly better fashion sense. And these are the things that make our days wonderful, is engaging with the students and working with them. And those students are so diverse as well. We have people from 17 years old to some students are in their 40s because they want to be able to use game for something like education and helping their own students. So it really is a wonderful mix of people from all sorts of backgrounds. Which brings us to concept art. And much like the others, concept art takes the students first through the fundamentals. So we look at things like anatomy, perspective, basic drawing. All the other courses, you don't need any specific elements in the portfolio or sort of background, but in concept art you do need to be able to draw. If you can't draw, you are going to struggle, I'm afraid. So it'll take you through essentially building on those skills that you already have in terms of drawing, and then carrying that through onto the digital painting aspect of studying form, light, material studies, and how to start rendering with various aspects. Much like game, and in fact, as I said, all the other courses, you'll then start with the different aspects of the overall career, and then later on in the course, you get to specialize. This is true for graphics, where you have your elective projects, web, where you can choose to specialize in UI or the development side. Game, obviously, you've heard about the various aspects there. And then in concept art, one of the choices you might have is something like asset design. So these are things like assets and vehicles that might be used in movies or animations or in high-end illustrations, games as well. They could be props or items that you interact with. Creature and character design, one of my favorites, and in fact what I teach, is geared more towards creating human or not human and various characters and creatures that can interact in different worlds. And there's this wonderful aspect that is in of storytelling where you get to bring your imagination through, and then carrying that through the technical skills as well. And again, it could be for animations, it could be for movies. And one of the nice things about concept art, and in fact one of the key goals of concept these teams, if you're a director, you might have a vision in your head of what you're trying to achieve. You want a red house on a hill next to a lake. However, if you tell 20 different people about your vision, you're going to get 20 different red houses and hills and lakes. Concept art helps bring that all together in a very quick way by doing illustrations or scamps or various key scene illustrations as well, so that everybody knows what they're aiming for. What does the costume need to look like that I'm making? What is the lighting I need to create? What is the angle I'm working with? What is this environment? This is how concept art brings teams together. So here we've got a little bit of environment design. I think Andrew is phenomenal at environment design. You will not catch me within an inch of it. But again, this whole world, some people delve into it in the creation of an environment that your characters and your creatures and your various other aspects are going to dwell in. From there, you get to create your campaign design, which is where you bring all the various aspects together. You start finding your own illustration style or your own concept art style, and you get to create, over an extensive period of time, an entire world of your own. And then present this to the world, and hopefully go into a very wonderful career from there. Both Andrew and Lars will be doing extra game and concept art presentations, so for those of you who are particularly interested or want to know a little bit more and see more examples, Andrew, you're going to be in this classroom at the end, Studio 1, and Lars will be in this classroom here, Studio 3. So we're just going to wrap it up. Any general questions, and then for those of you who want to go to either of those presentations, you will do that. Speaking of which, you're welcome to give us a shout at any stage, but does anybody have any questions at this point? Yes.
Is the course a short course for the concept art?
There are short courses for the concept art. The short courses are our evening programs. It's not as extensive as obviously a full year program, but you do have that option available to you. What we do for all our courses, however, is that, for example, graphics and concept art run in the mornings from 8 till 12, or 8:30 to 12, depending on when we decide to start there. And then the web and game guys run in the afternoons, which essentially means you have a half day available to you. This allows students to either continue to work on their projects, which is usually recommended because you work harder, you get better results. That's how life works. Otherwise, if you need to, you can also do internships or part-time jobs. That's also an option for you. So we try and structure it as best as possible. All the courses you should be able to complete the work during class time, but as I said, if you want to work in your own time, also no problem at all. Happy days. Plus, you get obviously the software so that you can load it onto your computers from the year, and you can, and no, you don't need any fancy machines. How's your opportunity, guys? Been talking for a long time. It's your turn to talk.
I have more personal questions, and we can. Yeah.
In terms of legislation, is there like a deadline that's allowed?
So we have moved our courses out. Obviously, regular schools are opening on the 15th of Feb, and colleges, most of them are going to open, including us, on the 1st of March is when classes will start. So we'll do orientation on the 26th to the 27th of Feb, and then classes will start the next. You essentially have up until then to apply, although I do recommend that you apply sooner rather than later because we give away spots as and when we evaluate the applications. There is a brief sort of grace period where you can do a late application and start a little bit later, but then obviously you need to catch up soon. We're reasonably flexible and we help try and work around people's needs as much as possible. But yeah, as Lars said, if you guys have any personal questions that maybe you don't want to speak in front of everybody, you're welcome to grab any of the HODs and chat to them directly. Otherwise, welcome to join the game and concept art presentations. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, yeah. Take your time. I will start the presentation or the Q&A for game in about 5 minutes in the room.
I'll do the same here for concept art as well. If you guys are interested in multiple courses as well, don't have FOMO, so just go to the one, ask some questions, and then we'll wait so you go to multiple people.
Otherwise, Kate and I can answer pretty much anything. Because we're all learning.